This update is potentially gonna be the heaviest, most complicated ever. I mean, seeing either Lumine and Dainsleif in the same image while knowing Skirk is coming as well was already a certainty, but we also saw a ton of stuff we weren't expecting to see at all, and I just can't wait to experience what they have in store for us. As always, with this video we will try to figure out together what is gonna happen in a few days in order to be ready for it, but first, this is a theory video and leaks are prohibited in the comment section. I will use information available in the game, but my theories and conclusions are not to be considered the official lore of the game, unless I got something right and it's confirmed in a later update of the game itself. Without further ado, grab your bags and let's depart for an adventure across space and time. Before we talk about the stories from version 5.7, let's quickly address the Nod-Krai teaser. First of all, the one speaking is Nicole, and she showed us some places from this new region as well as telling us basically nothing really new. First, we saw a pretty big town in the distance that might be Nasha Town, and some ruins nearby. Nod-Krai, as she said, is an ever-changing land of ruin corroded by time, but we also know this used to be a borderland where the Beli Tsar sent the pioneers to develop the land, and after a cataclysm, all that's left of what they built are ruins and pieces of machinery scattered here and there. Then she moves to the once peaceful forests, now encroached by the Wild Hunt, and these new enemies really look like normal humans corrupted beyond recognition by the Abyss. She showed us the Frost Moon Science and their honestly gorgeous deer, but among the people there's this woman who also has fawn horns, so are they deer people? Then we saw the Torchbearers, the Ratniki, in front of their lighthouse, seemingly led by a woman, so we can expect a 5-star female character from this faction. And then the Snowland Fae, who have elf ears apparently, that still yearn from the frost of old. Next we see the Fatui, specifically 3 new elite soldiers, a Cryo one who wields some sort of huge hand cannon, a Pyro one who wields an obnoxiously massive spear, and an Electro one, and it seems she'll fight with her hands. Of course, Dottore is also there, but I'll skip the building for now. We saw the Knights of Favonius, who are finally approaching the end of their expedition, and we got a better look at Barca, who looks like a Venturine, at least the clothes are pretty much the same. Not exactly my favorite character from Star Rail, so I hope he doesn't share his personality nor his addictions. Anne also spoke about the Hexen Circle and how they'll bring magical charm to this edge of the world. And finally we saw Alice, although she basically looks like Klee in her Valyrian Mirage outfit. We also see 2 little Doroko on a book in front of her, but that book kinda reminds me of Anders' daughter's book from The Witch's Tea Party. The video ends with Anne saying that fate is awaiting our gates, so I suppose she's talking about the Traveler, and then we see this weird being as big as a Sealy, although this one is fast. It's mostly white and blue with hints of yellow, with long, I guess, ears and almost like snow-inspired clothes. This could be what the Sealies look like in Snezhnaya, since we did find different versions of them all over Tvat. By the way, did you even remember this green one? Now, that building that the Fatui seem to be building looks extremely ominous but amazing at the same time. It looks like it's supposed to be almost a sphere, which makes me think, are the Fatui trying to build a new moon? Dottore's soldiers stole pieces of the moon from Natlan, we know a new moon is supposed to rise in Nod-Krai, and Anne told us that the Fatui are looking to the stars above, trying in vain to seize the firmament. So if they're actually building a moon, in all honesty, I can't wait to see it go up in the sky. I'm literally rooting for the Fatui just to see this new moon. It's time to talk about version 5.7, starting with the main quest. In Natlan, we will find a Karian girl hiding in a cave in the Collective of Plenty area, whose name is, at least in Japanese, Tyrell. We have no idea who this is, how she's apparently free from the curse, and what her deal is, but it seems she'll come with us during this quest. We also learned that the Abyss Order is preparing something big in Natlan. Ian-san said that it feels like they're getting ready to wage war against the entire nation, but it also seems that the Abyss Order has never really messed with Natlan in the past, since Ian-san has only heard of them. We see that Natlan has been taken over by the Abyss Order. We saw Abyss Mages, Rift Wolves, Lectors, Heralds, and even an Iniquitous Baptist. The whole gang is there. And they are operating a new kind of abyssal device that seems to create a sort of blue AoE shield around them. Of course, this is also Dainsleif's quest, so we saw him at the Masters of the Night Wind talking to the Traveler and Ian-san. For whatever reason, this quest will also include the spaceship, or in Japanese the sleep pod of the spaceship that the twins used to get to Teyvat. We don't know if the weird device we see either holding is related to the spaceship, but if it is, it may be its keys, and the energy contained in it may end up being used in this quest. Now, I wanna think that either will find the device during the quest and not that he's always had it on him, because it wouldn't make sense for it not to show in his imaginary bag. Maybe Tyrell had it and she will give it to him? Then it seems that the Abyss Order will indeed wage war, the front lines will collapse as Ian-san said, and we will go fight straight into Natlan with Dainsleif. He'll help us fight the enemies but also break the abyssal devices, and he's also going to fight against the Iniquitous Baptist alone. From here on out, things get weird. First of all, Nicole, the first one to speak in the trailer, talked about the Doomsday, so I guess when the cataclysm started, about the irreversible curse that followed, but also about the birth of a savior. This savior can technically be either twin. Lumine acquired the Abyss as the Carnians wanted her to, and Clothar said that
"And the one who controls the Abyss can control everything."
So she was supposed to be their savior, although it's clear things didn't go well and even the people regretted trusting her. On the other hand, Ether is a descender, so he's basically a savior by definition, and everything he's done up until now was because of the cataclysm. His sister had been taken away from him back then, and when he woke up again, he decided to travel across Teyvat looking for her. But what he's actually been doing is meeting the Archons and helping them save their nations. Well, except for Fontaine, they saved themselves. Anyway, we heard Lumine saying that the Loom of Fate finally finished its work, and this is probably what's gonna explain the entire quest, so keep that in mind. Suddenly we see Ether and Tyrell holding hands in a red place with embers in the air, and then we see a scene we haven't seen in a while. Lumine walking toward the edge of a cliff in a burning place with the infamous cubes in the sky. We are seeing Khaenri'ah from 500 years ago, only this time Lumine is much calmer than in the We Will Be Reunited video. She knows what she's about to see. After that, we see Lumine holding an object in her hand that looks like two glass tubes. Each has a Khaenri'ah sun symbol with the compass rose in the middle, and they are surrounded by an abyss-looking ring. Though, personally speaking, this object reminds me of those scrolls that people rolled on both sides. We then hear Lumine saying that this time she won't let him change fate as he always wants to, which is similar to what she told us in Bedtime Story. She knows she's doing something wrong, she feels guilty for it, but she also can't stop. She needs to achieve her goal, even if Ether ends up hating her for it. Lastly, we see Lumine activating the device she had in her hands, and everything got sucked back inside of it. In the special program, we then learn that Lumine has always been in Natlan while Ether was running around Teyvat, but considering that we met her in Liyue and in Sumeru, it sounds like the voice actresses meant that the Abyss Order's headquarters are in Natlan, and it actually makes a lot of sense. The Loom of Fate can create new ley lines, so what better place to use it if not in Natlan where there are no ley lines to begin with. The voice actresses also mentioned how Lumine is going full castress by tearing the sky apart as a rift that connects to the Abyss, so maybe we'll finally experience what the Abyss really looks like. Now, what is really gonna happen in this quest? We were given a few hints, one of which is the description of the quest itself. As always, in English it's kinda cryptic because it talks about the end of a journey being its beginning, that they are looking at the same view, and that time and space are meaningless until their destinies collide. In Japanese instead it says something like, the end of a journey is also the beginning of a new one. Time had no meaning from the beginning. As long as we could gaze at the same scenery, the distance between us didn't matter, until we were swallowed up by one fate. This is clearly different. It basically says that before coming to Teyvat, all the twins cared about was traveling from one place to another together. Time and space weren't really important nor an obstacle for them, but when they got to Teyvat, they got involved with something bigger than them, so fate and the heavenly principles that changed their lives. Now, what's the meaning of time and space in this quest? Are we really going back to Khaenri'ah from 500 years ago? Well, as we said, the quest begins in Natlan, but when I managed to find the exact place where we're gonna meet Tyrell, the cave doesn't exist. We could think that time and space don't mean anything because Teyvat isn't a real world, which is something Lumine basically told us in Bedtime Story. At the end of her journey, she found a sea of the same exact flowers that Aether was looking for all over the universe, and this wasn't a coincidence, she found them because she missed Aether. Teyvat basically gave her what she needed to achieve her biggest dream, that is to be reunited with her brother, because if he found those flowers, it probably meant that they had finally found a place that they could have called home. Teyvat is basically just like Similanka, but on a bigger scale, most likely because of the difference in power between the Promoted One and the witches, but in both cases, the only real people are those who don't belong to the world, but despite that they can still interact with the people. Now, everything we will see in this quest is simply not real, but in this case, it's not because of Teyvat's true nature. Everything we will witness is a product of the Loom of Fate, reason why Dainsleif said, "The Loom is running as we speak." It's like Bedtime Story, but with the Loom of Fate fully functional and with someone who has the power to operate it in full. Even Tyrell is most likely not real, and this could explain why she talks about the disaster as something that has yet to happen, but also why when we see Lumine with the device in her hand, so probably when she finished showing him what happened, Tyrell is basically frozen in time, looking the other way, as if she can't see Lumine. I think this happens because Lumine ended that memory right before something happened, so everything stopped moving, and then she approached Aether from behind to talk to him. Lumine probably wanted to show Aether what happened back then to either convince him to join her or maybe to just explain to him why she sided with the Abyss Order instead of reuniting with him. This is probably also when she's gonna say that she cannot miss the chance to meet Aether, because in Japanese she says Onichan, 500 years in the past. Maybe Aether asked her if she wanted to use the Loom of Fate to change what happened back then, and although she might even be able to, she still wouldn't leave him behind. Now, after experiencing the horrors of the Cataclysm, will Aether join Lumine? No, he won't, mainly because the game would end not long after without even meeting the Tsaritsa and confronting Pierro. It's simply too soon for the traveler to turn against the whole world now. When it comes to Skirk's story quest, it's a whole different headache. So let's start with something easy first, her abilities. She isn't really the first character who doesn't use a vision, but she's the first one who doesn't even use the elements because she can wield the Abyss directly, but she makes it look like Cryo to keep a low profile. Why is the Abyss defined as the 7-shifting serpent, serpent's subtlety, or in Japanese, serpent's cunning, is pretty much unknown, but I don't think it's a coincidence that in the Battle Pass video there's a snake with an eye of the color of the Abyss corroding the Genesis Pearl, but also that in Before Sun and Moon the Promoted One sealed the path to temptation, which is usually represented as a snake. Anyway, in Skirk's second form, that surprisingly covers her skin rather than showing it even more, as it's usually the case, she acquires this sort of glowing transparent drape that reminds me of Nevelet's ult, but also this fishtail? If those are fins on her back, then is she a fish person? Wait, is she a space mermaid? Also, that drape looks like what the lectors, heralds and the iniquitous baptists wear, but she's always had it, so it just looks similar. Lastly, while she fights, she can open 2 different kinds of rifts. One honestly looks like a tacit mark from Wuthering Waves, while the other is a little bit too identical to Ace slashes with the Muso Ishin. This is just making me feel even more certain that there is a connection or a similarity between Electro and the Abyss, especially since the Abyss portals usually have lightnings around them. Now, about the story quest, it will begin, once again, at Wanming restaurant in Liyue, where we will have lunch with Skirk while being watched from behind the corner by a man, who will later come close to talk to Skirk. Not gonna lie, he looks a lot like Zhongliang from Baiju's story quest. Anyway, this man might be the one with a wound that bears traces of Abyss corruption, whose soul has been damaged. I mean, the Traveler is immune to and can purify the Abyss, so I don't think Skirk is talking about him. That being said, we also know that the Traveler will come in contact with a mysterious power that will cause him nightmares, and that Skirk is the only one who can help him, reason why we will join her in this investigation, and probably also why the Traveler is wearing a very similar earpiece as Skirk. If the Traveler hasn't had nightmares after fighting Gozoithoth, then this mysterious power is definitely not the Abyss, but it might have something to do with these cute beings we saw in the trailer, one of which is accompanying the Traveler in a strange place with glowing waterfalls. These beings might also be what Alice is referring to in the trailer. She said that if we keep ignoring her, we will eventually become unable to hear her, and the fact that her has quotation marks should mean that she's referring to a being that is considered as female, rather than to an actual woman. Now, Skirk also talks about 42 of something that have died in the past few months because something is leeching power from this world, but in Japanese she says 42 stars. Despite that, I still kinda think these beings might be related to the stars, and the world she's talking about might be the place we saw before that might be inhabited by these cute beings. This honestly reminds me of the tale of Hoyor and Ukuku, since Hoyor is described as an entity that lived on a star just like her kin. Anyway, from here on out, things get more complicated. Apart from a man saying that his end is near but the journey of the person he's talking to will continue, which might or might not be from Skirk's quest, Skirk will meet someone who knows Surtology, and not long after we see her standing in the world inside the narwhal, the place we go every time it devours us during the fight. There, countless weird swords with a tiny black hole in the middle appear from rifts in the air, but we also see a smoky face with glowing eyes. Then a bigger rift opens near the ground, turning into that same smoky face for a second, and then from it a being we've known for a long time comes out. This is the same guy we fight inside the narwhal, and before fighting him, Skirk will ask him how he's acquired the old Devarian narwhal's power, to which he seems to reply the foul Surtology. According to the list of voice actors, his name should be Harden, and he might be the first person to have inherited the foul legacy before child, meaning that it's literally the narwhal's power given to a human. To conclude, I think that the last 2 enigmatic parts of the trailer we haven't talked about yet will happen at the end of the quest. Skirk is most likely going back to Surtology, who will congratulate her for surviving once again, so we will probably just hear him speak in order to hear his voice for the first time, and maybe we will even see a hint of his body, who knows. Same probably goes for we will return to the real universe one day. This might be the form of perfection Surtology is looking for, since he keeps an old Devarian narwhal, a being that travels the universe, as a pet, and he also allowed Skirk into Teyvat, which makes me think that he wants to turn her into a descender to, you know, go back to the real universe, but this could also be something Skirk is gonna tell the Traveler once she reveals to him that she is also an outlander like him, and they both probably wanna leave Teyvat. Obviously, this entire version is extremely interesting, there's a lot to expect and to learn, questions that will receive a long-awaited answer, but probably also new questions that will stay unanswered for a long time. I mean, if they told us everything immediately, where would be the fun in figuring things out, right? And that's it, I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and if you're interested in Genshin Impact theory videos, consider subscribing. If you got this far into the video, let me know in the comments if you're pulling for Skirk. I have the guarantee and I'm already 50 pulls in, so she should appear pretty soon, but I don't know if I'll get her weapon because I want to save, I desperately need to save for Varka. Anyway, I can't wait for the update to be released, I'm beyond excited for it. Well then, thank you so much for watching and until next time, over and out.